Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of January 6th, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. We made it. Just before we get started, wanted to touch on a couple quick things. Early trout season starts tomorrow, inland trout. It's the DNR's page here, of course. It's 5 a.m. tomorrow, January 7th. The trout season opens. This is a catch and release only season. And just a couple of things. Anglers are not required to use barbless hooks. A lot of people think you need barbless hooks. I believe they took that regulation away a few years ago. But artificial lures and flies are still required, so no live bait this time of year. But you get some of these warm days. Sounds like Saturday, 32. I think I saw 34 on Sunday. So decent weather to get out there and do some trout fishing if that's your thing. Otherwise, lots of good ice around the area here too that we'll be talking about. Speaking of ice, on the front door of the shop here, don't know why this isn't loading. I got a bunch of posters on the front door for different fisheries around the area. If you know somebody or a group that's holding a fishery and they want to put a poster up, happy to do that. One I want to talk about today is the Yahara Fishing Club's Kids Fishing Day that they do. So every winter they host a Kids Fishing Day down at Brittingham Park here on Lake Monona. That's Monona Bay there. And it's a great event. They're a great club, do a great stuff for fishing. I can't say enough good things about them, but they host this event where you can come down, bring a kid or kids. Everyone gets a free ice fishing rod. You can see one here. And instruction on how to use it. They drill holes for you. There's local club members that are kind of walking around helping people out. And then they also have lunch. So hot dogs and a beverage. I know they got roasting marshmallows here. So, a great event for kids, especially if you're looking to try to introduce them into ice fishing at literally no cost to yourself. So that's January the 28th here coming up. I'll be talking about it too as we approach that date, but just wanted to let everybody know that's coming up here. Otherwise, as far as the report goes, this warm weather we've had recently certainly didn't help the ice, but other than some shoreline areas being a little sketchy, ice thickness remains good in most shallow areas around Madison. The ice out deep still isn't great or safe. I've even heard about some open water on Lake Monona just this morning, so looks like this weekend should be nice and cold with decent temps in the forecast. Got some teens at night, low or upper 20s during the day for the weekend, and not too bad next week with as far as temperatures go. So I don't think we'll lose any ice, but I don't know if we'll make much either. Of course, when you're out there, this is going to be a theme of this report. Please be careful, especially around shorelines and storm sewer outlets or anywhere with current. Generally around the lake, bluegills are being caught in shallow areas with crappies mixed in. Decent tip-up action for pike all around the chain and largemouth bass being picked up. Many shallow areas around the lake too are actually had some good numbers of walleyes coming out. So we'll get into a little bit more detail here. Cherokee Park's been good fishing up there. It's hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes they're off, sometimes they're on. But generally they've been getting some nicer fish, and not the numbers that you might see in like a Monona Bay, but some decent bluegills and some good tip-up action up there. 113 Bridge has some open water, and I know a couple of people have been down there fishing. I just haven't heard how they've done. On Lake Mendota, the ice out deep is still very sketchy. I don't know if there's any open water. I haven't heard about any specifics, but it wouldn't shock me if there was some pockets. But like I said before, generally shallow areas around the lake have good ice still. Warner Bay, I heard, still has 5 inches around it. Governor's Island, close to shore, is good, but not far offshore. The ice starts to get pretty sketchy, so be careful from there. North Bay's got some decent ice. And down here on the west end or around shore, of course, Marshall Park and Spring Harbor, small areas like that have good ice. University Bay. As far as fish go, I've been hearing about some good walleyes coming out of a lot of these same shallow areas I just mentioned, and some good tip-up action for pike. I saw my first 42 or plus 40-inch pike just this morning. Picture of it, beautiful fish. Came out of Mendota here, and so they're out there and they're snapping, and it's good opportunities for a lot of those fish. But like I said, stay off the deep ice. Anywhere shallow is going to be your best bet for those fish. Over to Lake Monona. same deal out there. I actually heard about some open water in the rock pile, Tony Watha area over here. I'm not sure exactly where, but be careful, especially out over the deep water. Um, Otherwise, I haven't heard much about panfish on the main lake, but good walleye action. I mentioned last week that's continued, so they've been getting good walleye shallow, so 15 feet or less generally. Right around dark has been kind of the most productive time from what I hear. But Olbrick, City Shoreline, John Nolan, Turville, Squaw. I guess I haven't heard any much specifically over here along the Monona side, but yeah, lots of good walleye opportunities out there for folks. And yeah, just be careful if you get anywhere around some of that deeper ice or over deeper water, I guess. Upper Mud has been producing some good bluegills and crappies, a couple perch. Even heard about a couple walleyes coming out of the dredge hole over here, down to Lake Wabisa. Lake Farm still continues to be pretty dead from what I hear. Um, but doesn't mean you couldn't go poke around out there and see maybe you can get on them. But a lot of slow activity out of there from what I hear. Some bluegills coming out of the South Bay down here, but other than that, I haven't heard a lot coming out of Wabisa in the way of bluegills. A few perch out deep. I hear Wabisa has about 6 inches of ice across it, and they're still running ATVs as far as I know out there. Some walleyes near Hog Island, and also some walleyes down here near Bible Camp and Babcock. Down to Kegonsa, they've got 7, 8. I've even heard 9 inches of ice out there still running ATVs around the lake. I've heard about some bluegills in shallow areas if you can find weeds, but that action's spotty at best. Otherwise, perch out in the main basin, I heard a couple reports of folks doing well, but I'd say the majority of the reports that I hear are that the perch are spotty out there. Um, and also again, if you're gonna there, areas like Fish Camp, which can normally be a pretty productive area, might want to avoid the areas up here right near the river anyway, where the current comes in, because that warm up we had didn't help things out on the ice, but still some good ice out there on Kegonsa. Kashkananga, I've been hearing about some decent walleye action, but a lot of short fish down here. Again, where the Rock River dumps in up here, I'd be careful around that area, but otherwise I've heard they've got good ice out there, some good or decent bluegill action, I guess, in some of the back bays down here. Haven't heard much out of the river, of course. It's wintertime. Let's see, up to the Wisconsin River. Haven't heard much out of the Prairie du Sac Dam, but up on Lake Wisconsin, they're still getting some fish out of the fingers, and Wayland's great over here. Otherwise, I haven't heard a lot out of the main lake. I have, as far as walleyes go, some short fish mostly. I have heard about some good crappie action if you can find wood kind of close to shore up there, upstream of Lake Wisconsin Portage. Pretty quiet. Dells, haven't heard anything out of there. Let's see, Castle Rock, I heard it's been pretty quiet actually, but Petenwell has been fishing pretty well. Although I did just have a guy come in the shop here that said he had a guide trip up there that just got canceled today because of some water on top of the ice and the ice bowing. So if you're getting out, please be careful. But I'm sure a lot of your shallower areas around Petenwell are going to be safer. But that was probably out on the main lake. Over to the Mississippi, heard about, of course, good action on the backwaters, and they have plenty of ice there. Otherwise, Stoddard and DeSoto areas, I've heard some folks getting out for fish, but access there has been a little bit difficult. But some nice perch coming out of there, so that's always a pretty exciting thing for folks. A lot of folks make that trip over there to catch literally just giant perch. Over to Milwaukee, haven't heard much out of the rivers. I know a couple of folks I heard were heading over there with this warm spell we had. I didn't hear anything back from them or see much on Instagram or social media as far as folks getting fish out of the river, but the harbors over here are also have been producing some fish. So, down here behind Summerfest and up and down, really, the Racine Harbor, any of the harbors are really well protected, and they got good ice, good opportunities for steelhead, brown trout, and a lot of other fish that swim in there. I guess upstream here, or up the East Coast, heard about some good walleyes coming out of Green Bay. I haven't heard I guess some whitefish coming out of Sturgeon Bay. So that's always a fun trip. You'd probably want to hire a guide if you don't know anything about that. Lake Winnebago, I haven't heard much out of. Let's see, Beaver Dam. Where's Beaver Dam? Um, has been I've heard. Oh, there it is. Sorry, Beaver Dam. Heard about some good walleye action up there. Guy was in the shop, had I think he said he had 50 flags in one day out there, him and his buddies. So that's exciting, and some decent size fish too coming out of there. So if you want to make a little trip to Beaver Dam, might be worth it. Otherwise, I guess that's it for fishing around the chain. Again, the big news is the trout season being open. Oh, I guess speaking of trout too, Devil's Lake up here in Baraboo, I've heard has 5 or 6 inches, and I've seen online some decent catches of some folks getting into some trout out there. So 5 to 6 inches, I've heard of ice, but of course be careful there too. Otherwise, yeah, anybody, good luck to anybody that makes it out for the trout opener. Post your catches and comments below, no matter where you are out fishing, and yeah, let us know what you're doing. And feel free again to call the shop 241-4225 if you want current ice conditions. We can do our best to at least let you know what we're hearing. Be safe out there, and thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.